Nothing this incredible and insane has happened before. This was not something that the forefathers anticipated. It's unprecedented. There is no legal precedent because no previous president had an auto pen or had the audacity to have people signing things on their behalf when they didn't even know what was in it.
His inner circle, Joe Biden's inner circle, covered up for the country the fact that he was in mental decline and that he was so unavailable to do his job on a daily basis that the staff secretary, probably the most important person in the White House, the guy you see next to Donald Trump every time he has a press conference and he's signing a document, Will Scharf, well, Joe Biden's version of that person, Nara Tanden, didn't see him for 6 to 8 weeks at a time. She had no idea whether he'd approved the documents.
Let me be clear. The administration is choosing to starve American children with money that they already have appropriated.
I'm not applauding their
tactics.
By
the White House.
Well,
this is a choice by the White House.
This is also, Congresswoman, this is also a choice by Senate Democrats to not vote to open the government. Yes, it is.
Got to have 60 votes in the Senate. We only have 53 Republicans, so we must have Democrats to do it.
We continue to be amazed how crystal clear this military operation is playing out before our very eyes. The mainstream media can't play cover for much longer, and it seems sometimes that they're part of this wake-up now. The comms are off the charts today. The auto pen is a brilliant aspect of Trump. Some of the big moves going on in that area. The boomerang. So here we go. I just wanted to remind you guys, a shout out and a thank you for all of us helping to get to 500,000 followers on Rumble. It's been amazing to watch everyone come together and ensure that we reach that huge milestone. Let me bring this over. I forgot to take a screenshot of it. That's 500,000 followers that you're looking at right there, folks. And man, if it wasn't for you and the work that you guys do to get the word out, we would not have made it. So thank you for that. And also just a reminder that we have our new embroidered collection of merch, of t-shirts, Make Heaven Crowded, Jesus Saves. We also have John 14:27, and when you go to these shirts, you'll notice that they have the And We Know logo on the back or on the front. And we also have some other new items that you should check out. So if you guys didn't notice, Jamaica got hit hard. Many folks probably know since you probably listen to the radio or watch on television. This storm is unprecedented as far as the size and the strength of this particular hurricane. I've been in many typhoons in Japan, and I got to tell you, when I saw and heard the wind, man, it was stronger than anything that I'd ever been in before. And a lot of folks had some speculation on what's going on. One of them is that if you guys didn't know, Jamaica actually had a Vision 2030 Jamaica, a shift to prioritization of the higher forms of capital. Very interesting because they have a smart city that they're trying to build. So how do you get a smart city started? Well, you destroy it first, right? You burn it down like you do in Hawaii, or you run a hurricane through. Officials launched Vision 2030, UN-backed plan to turn Kingston into a fully digital smart city. And now the island is being torn apart by Hurricane Melissa, 185-mile-per-hour winds. Meteorologists called it unreal, maybe because it is. A storm that's this precise hitting as Jamaica shifts to AI infrastructure, biometric IDs, and centralized grids feels less like coincidence and more like calibration. Old Jamaica erased, new Jamaica connected, surveilled, compliant. The timing isn't a coincidence. It's a blueprint. Hurricane Melissa seemed to pause in place for hours while building up strength before making landfall in Jamaica. Could be one of the worst to ever hit Jamaica. That was put out by Fox 35. And concerned citizen remind us, nothing to see here, just a U.S. patent for creating hurricanes. It's not like they ever actually experiment with the water or the weather now, does it? There's also some speculation from Joe M. that they had this hurricane so they could go across Gitmo and try to get everybody evacuated and shut Gitmo down, and it didn't work. So just another one out there for folks to chew on.
Advanced technology and the fairest trade deals anywhere in the world. And for decades before I took office, our country was run by legions of bureaucrats who were always looking for a reason to say no. Why? How can we say no? They wanted to say no. They thought that was their job, and it's really just the opposite. We work to say yes. So now we have a president in the White House who cuts through the red tape and excuses. We don't stand for excuses, and says yes to big ideas and bold initiatives and grand ambitions so that America can have great industries, great dreams, and to be the greatest nation on earth, which is where we are now, actually, in a very short period of time. We're rebuilding things that are incredible. We have the strongest military in the world. We have the best equipment. We have the best manufacturers of equipment. And South Korea is buying a lot of our weapons. We make the best. We have the planes and just about everything other than ships. And we'll be there very shortly with ships, too. But the only reason it's not ships, because, I don't know, for some reason they stopped doing that. I guess they went on to other businesses. But there are some basics in life, and one of the things you need is ships.
Interesting. He's here to end the bureaucratic takeover of America. Bureaucracy. How does that play out? Oh, yeah, in the government. Things are starting to clean up. The era of having 10 people to answer to get an answer in the government, I hope will soon go away, and we're watching it unfold. What do I mean? Well, I've got a friend who works in on the base, and he tries to get things done. There's plenty of money at the very top, and he has to go through 3 different bosses to get to the top to get approved. He sends his letter up to his boss, but that boss has to go to the next boss, which goes to the next boss, which goes to the next boss just to get approved. It's ridiculous, yet he's in charge of the actual building. He can't make decisions on his own. Bureaucracy. So just letting you know how that plays out. Trump was driving up in the Beast in South Korea when he made this speech. Of course, he's in South Korea now after leaving Japan. This is what he had to say about that.
And it's a tremendous honor. I will tell you, driving up in the Beast, that's called the Beast, driving up in the Beast, the limo, with those very powerful people carrying very vicious-looking weapons, it was something. There was some spectacle and some beautiful scene, and I know what goes to making that happen. But it was so perfect, so flawlessly done, and
so perfect. Big weapons. So wonderful as he continues to make his travels throughout Southeast Asia. Now, somebody caught on to this. Who was it? Oh, Lisa May. There is a timestamp on Dan Scavino's post, and Dan Scavino actually posted pretty amazing drop, 8:53, where you can see amazing visuals. And he also posted the House Judiciary GOP while they're traveling. Interesting, because in that House Judiciary GOP drop, new Arctic frost documents reveal even further wide-ranging investigation by Biden's DOJ to take down President Trump and his supporters. Arctic frost investigators utilized FBI field offices from across the country to conduct its investigation. Arctic frost investigators requested $16,600 to travel to conduct more than 40 interviews. 45 individuals, including Steve Bannon, Scott Perry, Rudolph Giuliani, Jeffrey Clark, Eastman, and Mark Meadows, were potentially under investigation. Another 111 individuals, including Peter Navarro, Dan Scavino, Jeff Rosen, and Ed Martin, were also potentially under investigation. Arctic frost. So if you look at the timestamp that Dan dropped at, it's 8:53. What are the odds that 8:53 just happens to include a photo from Air Force One flying over North Korea during his first trip to Asia in 2017. And POTUS just departed Japan and is on his way to South Korea. So Drop 888 has the same photo and let us know that Kim's strings were cut. What an amazing coincidence. Once again, thank you, Lisa May, for catching that. And if you look at Drop 853, there's the picture on your screen. And it says also 111 days before Monday was this. Did we decide it was North Korea? Interesting, because that 111 days before Monday matches the 111 individuals under investigation. Wow. Do you think the Asia Live op posted was for nothing? Thank you, Kim. Deal made. Clowns cut. Strings cut. We took control. And folks, they're letting us know through the comms board, through the intel board, once again, how this stuff is going to play out. Absolutely brilliant to behold. We've got a lot to cover. Folks, many of us want our furry best friends to thrive. At ltpetclub247.com are all natural, USA-made supplements and treats packed with immune-boosting Coriolis versicolor mushrooms. Shed antler power, transform your pet's health. And guess what? They're so pure, they're great for humans too.
Have been suffering from ulcerative colitis my whole life. I started dosing it very, very hard, like 4 60-milligram tablets 4 times a day. To make a long story short, within about 3 weeks, I stopped bleeding.
From biscuits supporting bones, joints, and organs to mushroom blends for wellness, we've got pets and people covered. Plus, we donate profits to animal rescues like the Beagle Freedom Project. Shop affordable, natural solutions. Head to ltpetclub247.com now for vitality for you and your pet. LT Pet Club 247, health for all, 24/7. Get yours in the description box below today.
His inner circle, Joe Biden's inner circle, covered up for the country the fact that he was in mental decline and that he was so unavailable to do his job on a daily basis that the staff secretary, probably the most important person in the White House, the guy you see next to Donald Trump every time he has a press conference and he's signing a document, Will Sharf, well, Joe Biden's version of that person, Nara Tanden, didn't see him for 6 to 8 weeks at a time. She had no idea whether he'd approved the documents that were coming through her hands. He was an AWOL president in decline, and the people around him misled the American people. That's what this report says. And then the man sitting right next to you on the screen, Jim Jordan, releases some bombshell documents today in this other investigation. What do we know now? We know that the memo that the FBI used to open up Arctic Frost, which then targeted 160 Republicans, 92 conservative groups, 8 senators, 1 House member, a president, and a vice president, was really deficient under the guidelines of the FBI. The memo that opens up Arctic Frost uses words like evidence suggesting. It doesn't actually lay out a predicate. And it's looking at a crime that by submitting alternate or fake electors, as they use, or fraudulent electors is the term they use here, they committed a crime. The memo does not address the fact that in 2 prior times in American history, similar fake, fraudulent, or alternate electors were submitted in South Carolina, 1876, Hawaii, 1960. No prosecution occurred. That isn't even mentioned in the FBI memo. So bombshell stuff from Jim Jordan and James Comer today.
What are you interpreting from these discoveries? And the question I get asked most often, you come up with all this information and nothing ever happens. Now, things are beginning to happen that never happened before. Where do you see this going?
Well, I think Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are going to continue to provide extraordinary clarity to Chairman Jordan, Chairman Comer, and others to get the evidence to make the decisions about whether crimes were committed in this process. What you're seeing in Arctic Frost is a redo of Russia collusion, a weekly predicated case that looks like a Democratic opposition research project being done by the FBI, and you got the National Archives and Congress helping them. I think that that's what this is going to turn out to be, another Russia case.
You see a prima facie case that they abused power and were spying on people without a proper warrant?
Yeah, I think the chairman has it right. This is a get Trump investigation. Now the question is, what laws were violated? Did people lie? Did they cover up? Did they commit crimes? Did they violate civil liberties? That's going to be Pam Bondi's decision. I think the grand juries are starting to really ramp up around the country. I think we'll see some more activity in the next few weeks.
More activity. AutoPen. It's all starting to unfold.
Nothing this incredible and insane has happened before. This was not something that the forefathers anticipated. It's unprecedented. There is no legal precedent because no previous president had an AutoPen or had the audacity to have people signing things on their behalf when they didn't even know what was in it. And so we're in uncharted waters as a nation. As we say up here all the time, we're so tired of making history. I just want normal times, normal Congress again. But the Biden administration was unprecedented in so many ways, and the president was checked out of his job for quite some time, and everybody knows it. And there was a cover-up. The people around him who were they would give him scripts to follow. They would point him literally in the direction, stand here, sir, wave like this. And he didn't know what he was signing. So there's all sorts of just incredible implications. It sounds like a terrible novel or something, but this is reality. And so the pardons, for example, he pardoned categories of violent criminals and turned them loose on the streets. And he didn't even know what the categories were, apparently.
Before we continue, just want to remind you the U.S. House Oversight Committee deems all Biden executive actions null and void, including pardons performed by White House staff and signed by an AutoPen. The White House actually put out the AutoPen presidency, I think, to back that up. Also, the U.S. Oversight Committee, in doing this, demands an immediate investigation by Attorney General Pam Bondi. They're calling on the Department of Justice to conduct a thorough review of these executive actions and scrutinize key Biden aides who took the fifth to hide their participation in the cover-up. So, of course, it's another thing that we wake up to and find out more information to put the Dems on their heels.
Much less the individual people that he pardoned. They're invalid on their face. I mean, I used to be a constitutional law litigator. I would love to take this case and go into the courts and make that law to set the precedent. You can't allow a president to check out and have unelected, unaccountable, faceless people making massive decisions for the country. Think of the executive orders that were signed with the AutoPen. When he paused LNG exports, liquefied natural gas, to our European allies around the world, I confronted him about it, by the way, the one meeting they allowed me to have with him as Speaker in the Oval. And he looked at me as if it hadn't happened, and he said, I didn't do that. And it occurred to me, he wasn't lying. He honestly didn't know. Do you know what the implications of pausing LNG exports were around the world? It made all of our European allies had to buy their natural gas from Vladimir Putin, which fueled his world.
So amazing. The AutoPen continues to make its way rounds to basically give us a blueprint of how they're going to get rid of everything that was supposedly done by a fake presidency, a fake inauguration, and more. And so how would the Communist News Network try to cover for this one? I mean, it's always interesting, right, how the CIA gets together. They grab all the folks that they've trained and they say, okay, this is how we're going to handle it. Scott Jennings was on Communist News Network to basically push back. And he said it's not about the AutoPen.
Tradition of AutoPens has existed in every presidential administration across parties. I had an AutoPen when I worked at ICE.
I'm sorry, Elliot Williams?
Elliot Williams literally had an AutoPen.
You were important enough to have an AutoPen. I'm so impressed.
I am important, Casey. But no, and so it's a common practice.
Did you allow people to use the name Elliot Williams without your knowledge of the document or what was on the page?
I don't recall. So
I'm asking you, if you were a government official and you had an AutoPen, which you did, would you let some staffer sign things in your name without reading?
Yeah, here's the question. Was my authority delegated to that person? And I think they do have the authority to do so. Laws and and I'm serious, Scott, laws and regulations.
The authority to delegate pardons and executive orders, the President of the United States can say, you unelected staffer can go sign my name on a document that I've never seen for a decision that I've never made?
Quite often, the United States Code delegates authority. So through the President of the United States, through the Attorney General, whatever else, X person can carry out a function. And certainly that could be the case. Now, Donald Trump, for instance, in his first term, pardoned like 1,600 people. And I have a hard time believing that he was aware of every single person that he was pardoning. One could make a challenge. Every president does this. Now, if it's a question about Biden's fitness for office, did he know what he was? Of course, raise that question. But One, given how vast the pardon power is, and two, given how comprehensive the use of auto pens are across administrations, I have a hard time seeing a legal challenge.
Nobody can be delegated the pardon power.
Yes.
It is a constitutional power.
Yes.
And I don't really think you can delegate the executive order power either, because the executive has to make the order.
That's right. They're having a hard time. The Dems are going to fall apart. One day at a time, they're being put on their heels. It's not just Democrats doing some strange things. Well, yeah, there's independents, Republicans. Yeah. The Senate once again rebuked President Donald Trump on tariffs, a vote that comes as the president is in Asia, touting tariffs and notching progress on trade agreements. Senators on Tuesday voted 52-48 to terminate the national emergency Trump declared in order to impose 50% tariffs on most Brazilian goods in July. 5 Republican senators joined the Democrats in the vote. Tom Tillis, North Carolina. Susan Collins, Maine. Lisa Murkowski, Alaska. Mitch McConnell, Kentucky. And Rand Paul, Kentucky. The measure's co-sponsor. Also, Elon Musk was out talking about the amount of illegal voting. It's greater than what folks are uncovering. Consider that California and New York banned the use of ID for voting. They legalized fraudulent voting. And he's referring to what Mike Lee shows here. Non-citizens sometimes vote, far more often than many on the left have been willing to admit. Ohio uncovers over 1,000 non-citizens appearing registered to vote, sends cases to DOJ for prosecution. Thousands. 1,000 non-citizens. I'd say it was more in the millions, but you know how it goes. And so I wanted to get to the shutdown. I showed a little bit of this in the intro, but I wanted to just show you some shocking information from CNN. But they kind of twisted a little bit, right? They're in controlled mode, right?
Did the Democratic senators from New Mexico, your home state, vote to open the government so that these SNAP funds are not at risk?
Let me be clear. The administration is choosing to starve American children with money that they already have appropriated.
I'm not applauding their
by
tactics.
The White House.
Well,
this is a choice by the White House.
This
they
is
are
also,
choosing
Congresswoman,
to cut
this is
off
also a
food
choice
assistance.
by Senate Democrats
No,
to not
it is
vote to
not.
open the government. Yes, it is. I understand why they're doing it. They're doing it because they want Medicaid funds restored. They're doing it because they want Obamacare premiums to be extended past the end of the year. I understand the reasoning.
Sir, let me just be clear. The money for contingency plans is sitting there. That is why the states are suing. The White House is withholding funds from
2 to 3
children
weeks worth
to
of SNAP
have
funds.
food.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it may not be a big deal to you, but let me
It is
tell
a big
you
deal
that
to me.
for the grandparents, for
It
grandparents
is a big deal
that
to me.
literally are feeding their children,
My point
to
is that
not
it's a
have
short-term
money
solution.
in those accounts.
It's a
doesn't
short-term.
matter. At the end of the day, people need to be able to feed their families, and Saturday is when those funds
If you
run
feel
out,
so
and
strongly,
we are fighting
Congresswoman,
to get
why
that
not
funding.
ask the Senate Democrats from New Mexico to vote to open the government so that the SNAP funds...
Sir, I am here in the House of Representatives. It is shut down. I am fighting to get the government reopened. I am fighting to get funding put back into SNAP that is already existent, and I am fighting for the American people. I am here. But show me a single Republican that is here.
Wonder how hard they worked on this one to convince the people that, he asked some tough questions. Well, she's able to respond. I'm here. No, there's no Republicans here. I'm here. I'm working for the people. All you do is sign it. You're just trying to fill it up with all of your junk. Last week, they had the No Kings. This week, send me food, O King. That's from Officer Lou. Shipwreck said, when you give the government power to feed you, you give them the power to starve you. That's why socialism or communism never works. Ever. Good point. Also, Cornelius said S&P 500 companies whose entire profit margin basically depends on government tax money in the form of SNAP and EBT. Walmart, Target, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Kellogg's, General Mills, and others. If SNAP were cut off in the U.S., Walmart U.S. stores would have a negative operating margin. according to Mark Mitchell. Rasmussen reports, SNAP is literally what makes Walmart profitable. So that makes you wonder, who's actually paying these people to go on TikTok and say the same thing exactly, because they're getting the same script. Listen to this.
I have been a skeptic from the beginning, but I think we're about to find out that the Democratic shutdown strategy was genius because the Washington Post just broke some news.
A bombshell.
Enrollment isn't available yet. What they found is because of Donald Trump, health insurance prices are set to increase by 18% this year, but that's not even close to the whole thing. Because that 18% price increase doesn't include the subsidies expiring. Once you add in the cost that you're going to have to pay because Donald Trump's one big beautiful bill canceled the subsidies, the average annual cost for individual coverage is going to jump from $888 this year to $1,904 next year. That's a 114% increase in the cost of health insurance in 1 year. And if they find a way to preserve the subsidies, it will be exclusively because Democrats refused to let it go. And because
How about that? Send out a script, change a few words here and there, and then say, go for it. Who's paying? I don't know. Maybe some of these companies are paying to have these guys read it. The White House put this out and make it look pretty dark and evil. The 13th shutdown vote. Dems keep the government shut down. It's all in red. It's almost like Friday the 13th kind of stuff. Dems panic as Speaker Johnson lists off their ransom demands to reopen the government. He goes through it.
What they're demanding as a ransom to reopen the government are some really crazy things. They want to restore $200 billion in health benefits paid for by U.S. taxpayers to illegal aliens and non-citizens. We can't do that. They want billions of dollars in wasteful programs to be returned to foreign countries for things that none of you would agree with. We're not going to do that. They want $500 million to go back to left-leaning news organizations paid for by taxpayers. We can't do that. And then they want to cut $50 billion from the Rural Hospital Fund that Republicans got signed into law July 4th to prop up health care in red states and rural areas around the country. It's too important, but they want to take that away. They know that we can't do it. And now that they've begun to admit what this is all about, thanks, Lee, put it on the thing there. They're admitting what they're up to. Chuck Schumer said every day of the shutdown gets better for us, meaning the Democrat Party. And you know, we had the second-ranked Democrat in the House, the minority whip, who just said a few days ago, the end of last week, that we know that this is causing great pain for the American people, but we have to use this leverage. We don't have many times where we have leverage like this. And so they've shown you what the real motivation is. But ultimately, why are they doing all that? Let me summarize this really quickly, as simply as I can, for the civic students back home. Republicans are not demanding anything, literally nothing. All we want is to reopen the government. The Democrats are demanding all those things I just showed you on the chart, plus a lot more. When I say they want to send money to foreign countries, this is some of the things that they would propose that we spend money on again. They're demanding, this is a ransom to reopen the government. Things like $4 million for global LGBTQI plus awareness campaigns around the world. $4 million for the LGBTQI plus democracy grants in the Balkans. They want $2 million for feminist democratic principles projects in Africa. We're not doing that. But again, the question is why? Why? This sounds crazy. It is. Why would they do this? And what we saw on vivid display over the weekend was the re-emphasis of this fact. This is motivated purely out of fear. And what do we mean by that? You saw the Democratic leader in the House, Hakeem Jeffries, endorse Zohran Mamdani for mayor of New York City on Friday. It was an illustration of what we're facing here. The Democrats right now fear the far left activists more than they fear air traffic controllers, border patrol agents, American service members, and so many others missing their paychecks.
So the service members aren't going to miss their paychecks, according to J.D. Vance. He says they're going to get paid.
Get paid on Friday, yes. We believe that we can continue to pay the troops on Friday. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to pay everybody because we've been handed a very bad hand by the Democrats. This is one of the reasons why you've seen some layoffs in the federal workforce. We do think that we can continue paying the troops, at least for now, but we've got food stamp benefits that are set to run out in a week. We're trying to keep as much open as possible. We just need the Democrats to actually help us out.
Interesting. You know, I was watching News Treason Channel 17. They interviewed a guy by the name of Derek Johnson. That's right. And I listened to the whole thing while I was on the treadmill. And he said something that was very interesting. It caught my attention. Think about all of the money that was taken from those people that were caught doing crimes against humanity. Remember, all their assets would be taken, their bank accounts shut down. Think about all that money since this operation started that has been placed back into our coffers so that we can pay the troops. And they say, yeah, it was paid off by somebody and somebody made a donation, whatever. Or we've got enough money on hand, emergency fund money or whatever. But it's interesting because they could have done that to, I don't know, maybe fund the SNAP thing. But I believe there's something going on the SNAP side that's waking a lot of people up. Don't you think? That's like a hustle, right? Douglas McMackey says, here's how the hustle works. Illegal aliens come in, drop an anchor baby. Whole family gets SNAP. Rent assistance, Medicaid, you name it. Parents work cash jobs, sell SNAP for cash. They get paid for that SNAP, remember? They send the money back home to build a retirement home. Oilfield Rando said, I want SNAP to shut down for a month just to observe how much foreign remittances plummet in that month. If you're looking at your screen, you'll notice federal spending on SNAP food stamps has essentially doubled since 2019. Doubled in the last 5 years. From 60-something billion all the way up to 120-plus billion. Whew. Awakened Outlaw said, everyone should ask themselves why roughly $30 billion was added onto the backs of U.S. citizens for additional SNAP benefits during Biden's term. How is it even remotely possible that the program doubled? Also note that this lines up with Joe and company throwing open the gates to endless waves of illegal aliens. It doesn't take a genius to figure this out. Treason. Of course, Elizabeth Warren was out there saying, for the first time in modern history, Donald Trump is shutting down SNAP. This means 42 million Americans will miss out on food assistance funds starting November 1st. Donald Trump's choosing to let mamas and their babies go hungry. Such a liar. But you know, it was really cool. When you go to that post on X, every single person below that post was calling her a liar in one way or another. Gunnar Engelman said, you voted to shut down SNAP 12 times. Kelly said, in case you forgot, this is the Democrat shutdown. Schumer shutdown. Somebody else says, keep doing what you're doing. Your base is turning on you. They know the Democrats are the ones taking away their food and money. Your plan is working, just not in the way you thought. You shut down SNAP and have blackmailed the American people. It doesn't matter how many times you lie. It will never be the truth. Folks, I'm reading just responses to Elizabeth Warren. Even somebody actually posted a picture, says nothing for you until you fund free health care for illegal immigrants. Little guy from Chuck Schumer as he's talking to a little boy. This is how it's working out for them. It's not looking good. Happening in this country. Big corporations and the deep state are swallowing up family farms and ranches. We're talking 15 to 30,000 gone every year, folks. In just the last 5 years, 20.1 million acres of farmland erased. Families who've been raising your food for generations are being pushed off their land, and the ones who survive, well, they're hidden behind big corporate brands never recognized. That's why I want to introduce you to Tri-Tails Beef. They're a fifth-generation Texas family ranch, and they raise cattle the right way. Pasture-raised, grain-finished for flavor and tenderness, and never touched with mRNA shots. And here's something I love. They even source from other ranchers who meet their same high standards. It's all the same care, genetics, and integrity. Their beef is the real deal. High-end Black Angus genetics, aged to perfection, shipped straight from the ranch to your door. This isn't just about a steak. It's about taking a stand for American ranching, real food, and the families who make both possible. So if you want to fight back, if you want to keep your dinner table connected to real American hands, Go to trybeef.com/AWK and support Tri Tales today in the description box below.
In any way accurate, Tom?
Look, we're all being aggressive. I've said from day one we're going to concentrate on public safety threats and national security threats. But if you're in the country legally, you're not off the table, we'll arrest you too. So the numbers speak for themselves, Laura. Most secure border in history of this nation. Over 23,000 missing kids have been found and saved. And we have a record number of arrests and deportation. We're going to hit 600,000 real soon, which will be a historic record. And we're going to keep going. As we get more agents on, you're going to see arrests increase twice, 3 times. You're going to see the numbers skyrocket.
Oh, yeah. Get them out. Homeland Security posted this picture of, you guys remember the Patriot movie? You have a duty, Americans. Send them back. Join.ice.gov. That's Mel Gibson there. Great movie. I watch it all the time. It gets me motivated. Speaking of illegal aliens, President Trump was on Air Force One talking to the press, and he talked about Ilhan Omar. Needs to be expelled from Congress. I think she needs more than that.
I think she should be impeached. I think she's terrible. Is she originally from Somalia? So how are they doing this? How's their government? Do they have a president? Do they have a council? Do they have anything? Do they have police? I love these people that come from a place with nothing, no anything, and then they tell us how to run our country. No, I think if she got censured, that's great. If she got impeached, that's even better. They impeached me twice for nothing. And they impeached me knowing the Republicans are on my side, so they knew it was just, but they impeached me twice. She should be impeached, and it should happen fast.
She should be impeached. She's from Somalia. These people come from a place with nothing, and then they tell us how to run our country. Keep those reminders coming, President Trump. We love it. You know, a lot of big things happened with President Trump going to Asia, and missed this yesterday out of Japan, but Japan's investing $500 billion in Made in America. Toyota's investing $10 billion on American plants. Ooh, that's a lot. That is a lot. Rare earth minerals for cars and fighter jets. Cherry trees and fireworks for 4th of July from Japan. Nobel Peace Prize nomination just to sweeten the deal. And guys, they had the Tokyo Tower lit up in red, white, and blue. Absolutely amazing, that tower. If you guys haven't been, it is phenomenal. Definitely recommend you guys visit Japan. It would be good for you. And he just wanted to make sure, President Trump wanted you to know the money that's coming in.
Will probably be at 20 or 21, maybe even $22 trillion of investments coming into our country by the end of the first year of my second term. And, we had a tremendously successful first term. We had the strongest economy in history for our country, strongest we ever had. But this is, I think, blowing it away. We have great policy.
Blowing it away. $22 trillion coming into the country. Won't it be nice? All the tariffs just bringing in all this cash. Next thing you know, the Fed's gone, the IRS is gone, and we start putting the money back into our pockets. We don't sign these bills anymore to fund all the craziness that comes from the Democrat Party. All these programs that they have to try to get us to agree with their debauchery. They want the government to pay for their debauchery, the things that they do behind closed doors. They want the world to pay for it. They want the world to pay for children, our tax dollars to pay for the children to be mutilated. They want our tax dollars to pay for other countries to mutilate their children. Well, folks are going to get caught. Another corrupt Democrat actually has been caught. Investigators have raided the home and office of Democrat Oklahoma State Representative Ajay Pittman over her reported criminal use of campaign funds. Wow. Remember I was telling you that I love to see folks go out on TikTok or other platforms, grab their phone and say, you know what, I'm going to say something. I'm going to type it up and read it off my phone, or I'm just going to say it and get this out. Well, this was pretty strong. Loved it.
Stop going to white liberals for money and then complaining about their power. Malcolm X said the white liberal is the worst enemy to America and the worst enemy to the black man. The white liberal's purpose is to perpetuate a system that will keep the black man dependent on the white liberal. Because the truth is, you can't be dependent and free at the same time. And that's the part nobody wants to say out loud, because once they control the way you think and what you depend on, they don't need chains anymore. But for just a minute, step outside of it. I challenge you. Let's do a little thought exercise. Look at this critically, not emotionally. That's where real freedom starts. Because the more you're emotionally attached to your race, the easier it is to control you. It's realizing we've confused education with indoctrination. The idea that we're inferior and therefore we must receive. That's the last stage of colonization, people. The last chain left on our minds, the insistence that we're inferior. Shelby Seals said inferiority was established through white superiority, and that white guilt has infantilized Black America, and it's allowed white liberals to act as our caretakers rather than our equals. And the more we tell white people they need to give in order to be racist, the more we'll receive and the more we'll depend and the more we'll reinforce the same lie that we're inferior. And it'll never stop. Because dependency isn't progress, it's slavery dressed up as compassion. Because when you depend on the system, you can't be controlled by it. And control is the opposite of freedom. Because freedom is never the reward for moral innocence, it's the reward for moral responsibility, Shelby Steele. The more you rely on them for a check, the more you'll vote for that check. You'll vote for what they call empowerment and assistance. It's not about progress. It's not about excellence. It's about profit and power and your vote. And all that time you spend scrolling, start reading what makes you uncomfortable. Not 3-minute videos that enforce the cage around your mind. Slavery was psychological, not just physical. Stop pointing fingers and asking for regression packaged in a reparations check. Change your mindset.
Amazing. Wow. Folks start to speak up even more so. They're grabbing their cameras and they're recording all kinds of stuff, including the costs involved in medical. How much folks are paying. Check this one out.
I just opened up my invoice from my insurance company. This is the statement for my hysterectomy I had earlier this year. The hospital charged over $105,000. Over $105,000. I am thankful and feel blessed and fortunate to have insurance to cover this. This is a very expensive surgery. I didn't realize this. I can only just imagine the cost of a brain surgery or back surgery, anything major that requires a full medical team, medicine, blood tests, all these work that needs to be done during the surgery and after surgery. If you are planning to have a hysterectomy, keep in mind the cost and make sure that your insurance is covering as much as possible and less out of your pocket.
Very interesting. $100,000. You guys know that you could get something like that done, the hysterectomy, in other countries like, I don't know, Mexico, or if you head over to Japan. Japan's got the cheapest health costs in the world. Oh, yeah, dirt cheap. Do the research, you'll figure it all out. These guys are charging a massive amount of money so that they can fill the pockets. These hospitals and people there. Let's stay with the medical side. Seattle Children's Hospital has combined their gender clinic with their autism center. Listen to this.
I want to spotlight one particularly dangerous gender clinic, and that is Seattle Children's Hospital. Not only does it state that gender interventions are life-saving and puberty blockers are reversible, but it partners with its autism center. Youth with autistic traits are overly represented in the exploding cohort of children and young adults adopting trans identities. They tend not to conform to rigid sex stereotypes, leaving them vulnerable to believing that there's something wrong with them. Combining the autism and pediatric gender centers provides a steady stream of patients for expensive and lifelong gender treatments. Seattle Children's is not alone in this marketing scheme. Seattle's Gender Clinic authored and the AAP published a perspective advancing the notion that refusing to modify a child's sex traits constitutes medical and emotional abuse. Parents who refuse to consent to have their daughter's breasts removed or sexual function destroyed are seen as abusers by the largest pediatric medical society in the United States. And if I recall correctly, Seattle Children's had one of the most prominent booths at the AAP convention this year, where some detransitioners and I were escorted out from our paid-for booth because we dared to try to educate pediatricians. So yes, the AAP knows of the harms, but continues to support gender procedures.
Yeah. Attorney Aaron Friday. The amount of stuff that's being unveiled is just mind-blowing. You know, Paul Sperry's telling us the Senate Judiciary is investigating the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for funneling millions of dollars to Chinese PLA fronts in violation of IRS rules against charities funding foreign governments under Foundation's 501c3 nonprofit charter. DC Drano said, now we know why Bill Gates said climate change isn't that big of a deal anymore. His foundation is getting investigated for funneling millions to the Chinese Communist government. And he's busted. You know, he's responsible for all kinds of things, drugs that he brings to different countries for experimenting on humans and more. Those that are bringing their drugs into our country illegally, well, they're getting nailed. The U.S. has carried out several additional strikes on 4 vessels in the East Pacific. 14 killed with 1 survivor, the Secretary of War announces. You're not going to be playing or bringing those drugs in anymore. And I guarantee you, folks, that there's politicians that are part of all of this that get their pockets lined. And boy, oh boy, they're having to play along and do their thing because they're probably would have been exposed, but I'm sure they were threatened if they said anything that their families would be in danger. Remember, we were told that on the keyboard, some of these guys have to do things because they're in danger. Other things. This right here, Trump's ballroom construction is proof of his total disregard for history, says the Dems, as they knock down all of these statues throughout the country and they spray free Palestine and fascists and racists all over our cities. Those are the folks we're dealing with. Other types of comms that we get have been flowing perfectly. The White House actually released American Strength is Roaring Back Like Never Before on the world stage, with pictures of President Trump's Japan visit, especially on the George Washington, USS George Washington. President Trump reposted the White House's X post, America's Strength is Roaring Back, at 9:57 a.m. Q957, why are trips allowed? Oh, he's on trips, that's right. Should he be on trips? I mean, where are they getting their money from? You know, the government's supposed to be shut down, right? Isn't it supposed to be traveling, spending so much money per hour on Air Force One, heading everywhere? That was another great part of the interview I heard from News Treason Channel the other day. Very interesting question. I said, yeah, that's right. Patriots are in control. Whitelist, meeting with world leaders that are in on the plan. That's right. Remember, they had Malaysia meeting. You got, you actually had the prime minister, the new prime minister, Sonai Takaichi from Japan was actually in Malaysia. They already having talks down there. Who else showed up? I don't know. Could have snuck some folks in there. They have those underground tunnels and underground roads. They can just drive on in and we won't even notice. Just letting you know. You know how it works, folks. While President Trump was on aircraft carrier USS George Washington, he took a picture with some of the troops. And of course, there are 17 people in the picture. 17 people. Let me see if I can zoom in on that. There you go, folks. Look at that. But the 13th guy was wearing yellow. So he looked at Q13. It has an 8-year delta this Thursday from October 30th, 2017. Now, think about the timing of President Trump's travel to China, South Korea, meeting with Xi, China, and South Korea. I've said too much. God bless Patriots. 8 years ago, Q foretold us that President Trump was going to be visiting with China and South Korea. This is not a coincidence. At this point, there is no denying it. We are witnessing the greatest military operation in the history of the world. Whew. Enjoy the show. Oh, man. And of course, when it comes to car companies like Toyota, in Japan, Toyota is going to be putting auto plants all over the United States to the tune of over $10 billion. Folks, let's just, I don't know. This is how my mind works. I don't know about you, but okay, just imagine you're in a small town. All of a sudden, there's a big plant that's built right down the road. A bunch of your folks, family, friends have been looking for jobs. Next thing you know, job opens. Well, it's not just the plant that opens and provides job opportunities. Say you don't have the expertise to go in and work in that particular area, but you could go down there and open up a food truck, and these guys are going to be hungry when they go out for lunch and then they leave for dinner. I don't know, breakfast trucks. They're going to need all types of support from groceries, so you can open up a grocery store. And they're going to need clothes. You can open up a small clothes shop. They're going to need some insurance. If you want to start a small insurance business, I don't know. My mind's just wandering through, a little restaurant. Maybe you could start something small, and next thing you know, all these families start moving there, and it just has a ripple effect. It's more than just the money that they're pouring in to build these plants and come in and selling the vehicles. It's the people and the ability that will play out for all of us to see. Imagine if the money that's being spent is finally backed by gold. I mean, that's what we're hoping, right? Seems like that might be coming. Gold bull market has almost a decade left based on history. That Mark Bull's gold's supposed to continue to grow. Yeah, there's a dip here and there, and Dr. Kirk Elliott talked about that. It's silver and gold, and he talked about the cup and the handle again. And I hope you guys go and watch that interview I did last Saturday with him. Here's a clip from that.
Patterns emerge, right? And it's just normal. It's healthy, LT. So right. I'm giddy. I'm excited about this, and everybody else should be too.
We're excited. And everybody should be too. AndWeKnow.com/gold. You guys know it. Absolutely amazing. You can make the phone call, reach out to them. You'll be taken care of, folks. It is absolutely amazing what's happened to so many folks in that area, for sure. And so wanted to get into the immigration stuff. Of course, we've been talking about it. Seems like every single video now, but somebody else has been talking about a big name, Elon Musk. Posted Gad Sad said there will be civil war. Civil war in Britain is inevitable, says Elon Musk. Just a question of when. Mario Nafal said, is civil war in Britain unavoidable? Elon says it's inevitable, and for once, the man who shot a car into space and saved free speech by buying Twitter might not be wrong, no, folks. All right, I'm not going to go there about the space thing, and oh boy, we'll skip that one for now. Britain isn't headed towards civil war because people are racist or bigoted or paranoid. It's because they've been lied to again and again and again. And now they're done pretending everything's fine. Here's the setup. Illegal immigration is through the roof. Thousands arrive via small boats with no documents, no vetting, no plans. They're housed in hotels at taxpayer expense, nice ones too, while Brits sleep in cars, sofa surf, or languish on council wait lists that stretch into eternity. If you dare question any of it, the entire establishment pounces. How dare you? But the truth's leaking out like a dinghy with a hole. People are being assaulted, not by all migrants, of course not, but when You bring in tens of thousands without knowing who they are, some will be predators. And that risk, however small per capita, explodes in the aggregate. But pointing that out, instant cancellation. Or worse, now they're talking criminal charges under the Online Safety Act for hate speech. Translation, disagree with the narrative and we'll shut you up. People are being told it's their moral duty to foot the bill, shut their mouths, and smile while the country unravels. And to make that compliance seamless, here comes the next brilliant idea, digital ID. Yes, nothing says freedom like having your identity, online speech, and financial access tethered to a government app. For security. Just like every authoritarian regime in history said before the things got really fun. Brits aren't stupid. They see the social contract between rewritten in real time. We import chaos, you pay for it. We erase your speech, you clap. We lose control, you take the blame. It's 1984, except this time Winston Smith doesn't even get the dignity of a telescreen. Just a suspended social media account and a digital ID linked to his energy bill. And the government? They wag their fingers at right-wing extremists, that's what they call them, while spending billions to warehouse strangers from who knows where with no plan to send them back. Deportations are a joke. The backlog of asylum claims is a national embarrassment. But don't worry, someone just launched another task force. Maybe they'll have matching lanyards. People have had enough. Not of immigrants, per se, but of being gaslit by a political class that thinks they're too stupid or too scared to notice the obvious. And when you push a population to the edge, tell them to shut up, fork over, and enjoy the ride. Eventually, they push back hard. Is civil war inevitable? Hopefully not, but civic trust is cratering. Speech is being criminalized. Identity is being digitized, and reality is being denied. At some point, the British public stops asking politely and starts asking furiously. And when that day comes, no amount of fact-checking or PR spin will stop the blowback. The elites lit the fuse. The people are just waiting to see how long it burns. Very well written. Going back to just a little bit of history on some of this. Nioberg said, shows us a picture of Iranian leftist girls celebrating Khomeini's arrival in 1979. They were so excited. He later had 30,000 leftists executed. That's right. The girl in the front of that picture was executed. The girl in the back fled to Sweden, where she lives in exile to this day. They both actively worked towards and celebrated their own demise. The leftist liberal demise. I'm begging the West to stop thinking this could never happen to you, because it can, and it 100% will. Listen to this.
As an Iranian woman, I stand before you today with a warning. We saw what happened when our king was deposed and a republic was declared, ruled by the ideology of Islamism.
It's extraordinary how one man can command such adoration.
We saw this revolution, mosque as a movement for change, destroyed our liberty and freedom.
The imposition of Islamic law here has started with an order to women to cover their heads in government offices. Many are furious. Only a minority in Tehran already follow the instruction. Several of the women who stood their ground with considerable courage were stabbed as they chanted slogans for equal rights.
Worst of all, for those who were lucky enough to escape, they now see the same thing happening in the West. Progressivism, a two-faced God, serving the cynical by ensnaring the gullible. They lost their monarchy under slogans that read, "Out with the old, in with the new." But now the people of Iran suffer under one of the most backward and austere regimes in the modern world. The IRGC opened fire on the protesters. In this one incident alone, the regime murdered as many as 100 Iranians and possibly more. Just as a reminder of the things that people have to deal with out there. You know, I wanted to show you another and then a little video clip of what a police officer did for somebody. Again, touching our heartstrings. Grasshopper sent this to me and said, you don't want to miss it. It's amazing that we have the Happy Q birthday comms, right? Epic Trump rally on the USS George Washington. Remember? On the USS George Washington. He arrives to God bless the USA aboard USS George Washington in Japan. It's linking to George Washington crossing the Delaware in a Durham boat. You guys remember that? It's all connected. The Department of War Q-proof. Do people really believe the biggest scandal in modern U.S. history will go unpunished, scot-free? Remember that back channels are important. Patriots stand at the ready. I'm going to read the rest of this in a moment. I wanted to show you, again, what this police officer did for this, what appears to be a homeless girl who stole a couple of items because she needed them because it was cold outside.
Do you have stuff in your coat right now? No. No? Okay. Employees said they saw you stuff from your basket into your jacket.
If you take everything out right now, we won't even press charges. We'll just give you no trespass.
I think that's a fair deal.
Okay, fine. I have a hat and gloves.
All right. There we go.
Your ID I don't have an ID.
Do you have an address that you stay at? No.
Man, it's just cold outside. I don't have any money. I just wanted a hat and gloves.
I get it, but you can't be stealing it, okay? You don't have hat or gloves? I'll buy these for her.
Thank you. Are you serious? Thank you.
But don't do this, okay? I know it's tough, but there's other ways.
It's just...
Call us for help.
She just got a hat and gloves because it's cold. She doesn't have any money. The police officer, instead of arresting her, said, you know what? I'll pay for these. I'll pay for it. We have opportunities like this in our daily lives to help others, regardless of what's going on and these updates with the political stuff and things going on in people's lives with SNAP and more. I don't know. Do you guys know anybody that's getting benefits that just started getting SNAP? Maybe, I don't know, just thinking out loud, that definitely needed it. Times are hard and they're down the street from you, or they're part of your community and you, I don't know, maybe you attend a church or you do a home church or whatever it is that you do. Or maybe you're not even a Christian. You're just like, hey, I want to do something for others. I'm going to be different than the world. It reminds me of Romans 12, chapter 1, or 12, verse 1. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in the view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Don't be conformed to the pattern of the world. Transformed by the renewing of your mind. It's amazing as we go day by day through all of this, what it can do to us and make us forget of our fellow man, about loving our neighbors as we love ourselves. My hope is that many of you out there listening, maybe your hearts will be touched by what this police officer did, and maybe just maybe we'll be able to replace the government with our own love and help people out that are definitely in need, help them find jobs, whatever. Back to this post. Gitmo special place, George Soros. He's the one that caused a lot of this, and amongst many others. What would be the penalty for stealing elections? They, the enemy, they're afraid of losing power forever. They should be. Welcome to the D Party, Q.
For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you once again for your continued guidance and direction in our daily life. We thank you for your love that you give us, your grace, your mercy. When sometimes we feel like we don't deserve it, you continue to bring that forward, and we are just in awe of you and how you've put down so many so many leaders on this earth to take care of us at this time, to move nations, to move the hearts of people that have been empowered, I believe many by the Holy Spirit, to continue to demolish these strongholds, this evil around us. We know that it'll always be with us until your return. But in the meantime, we're watching the cleanup, biblical cleanup, just like we've seen many times in the Old Covenant, where nations were changed, where evil was removed, a new king would walk in, knock all the idols down, and return worship back to you. Our hope and prayer is that we continue to see protection over these leaders, over our military, who is being used right now to destroy the enemy and to wake up. So many people have been asleep for so long. Help us to continue to stay in your word, stay close to you each and every day. In the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior, we pray. Amen and amen. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your support of this channel. It is absolutely phenomenal what you guys continue to do for us, and we are so excited. We hope that all of you will consider coming on the cruise with us March 15th through 22nd of 2026. Well, many people are writing in asking us to do more cruises each year, and so we're looking at more, and we'll see what the response would be for this one, and then we'll move forward. Hope and prayers that we'll continue to meet together. For now, this is LT Semper Fi with them we know, signing out.